So we all know that the college protests are gaining a lot of traction, most notably what happened at Columbia University in New York City. But the thing is, there are protests and activists who are calling out the horrific actions of Israel, the IDF, and what it's doing to the Palestinian people. We all know that what's happening in Rafah is what we've all feared, and it is unfortunate that we have no leaders worldwide calling for a true ceasefire. But here in Chicago, and I want to pull this video up because it's been gaining a lot of traction. This was posted 18 hours ago. And I want to give a shout out to the person who actually posted this video, Missy Marxist. All right. Now, she was the one who posted this. And this took place at University of Chicago. And this is where a UFC student speaks about what is happening in the crisis of with the crisis in Gaza. And I know a lot of people have been tweeting it out. I know even Do Dissidents did as well. And look, this is happening in Chicago, my backyard, and we have to talk about it. So I am going to play this video and let's hear it out and listen. And this is from a local Fox News affiliate, Fox 32. So if you're in Chicago, Fox 32 is our local news affiliate for the Fox News channel. So let's go and play it.
Some breaking news on the campus of the University of Chicago. Campus police there breaking up a protester encampment.
Police in riot gear arrived on campus early this morning. Joni has been there very early. She has the latest. Joni, what has unfolded since you arrived?
Well, the campus police, as you said, moved in just before 5 a.m. And these protesters have been holding the line now for 2 hours. There's a bullhorn behind us, so it's very loud. Christopher was on the inside when it happened. Describe what happened in the quadrangle this morning.
Now, this young man is about to drop some truth bombs, so go ahead and listen, folks. I will keep my pausing to a minimum. I know I've said this before, but this is time I'm going to be serious, and this is some outstanding stuff, so let's listen.
Yeah, it was horrific. They waited like cowards until every single student was asleep in their tent, basically, and then they stormed in, maybe 40 or 50 of them with riot gear screaming. They started throwing wood planks, throwing chairs, throwing absolutely everything in any direction to destroy the camp as fast as possible, to suppress this movement as fast as possible. And in fact, one of the chairs that they threw came within maybe 3 inches of hitting my girlfriend in the head. And they had just woken us up.
So it was dark because it was before sunrise. You had a warning that they were coming, but they did for a while. And so everybody was
We had no warning. No, we had no warning.
Okay, so then what did you do when all that action was happening?
I tried to make sure everyone was safe. I mean, it was chaos. It was terrifying. Yeah.
So you were able to get out. I understand that students are being threatened with disciplinary action for being in there.
They gave us some ridiculous notice out here saying that like participants in the quad encampment, which no longer exists thanks to them, are facing like an interim leave of absence as well as a criminal trespass charge. I have no idea if that's just a scare tactic or if it's real, but it doesn't matter because the difference between us and people like these cops is that there are limits to when we continue following orders. And when you're talking about a genocide visited upon a colonized population of 2 million people trapped in a ghetto that's as long as a marathon and 6 miles wide, when that ghetto is being systematically starved, slaughtered, every hospital bombed, every university bombed, 70% of homes destroyed, 40,000 people murdered, 15,000 children murdered, the entire population on the brink of starvation, we say, and if our government and our academic institutions are complicit in this, there comes a point where we say we're not following orders and it doesn't matter what you do to us because there are principles and there are human lives that matter more than our careers and our futures, and that's what separates us from people like Paul Olavisatos, the coward president of this university, and these coward cops that come in terrorizing an encampment while people are sleeping.
I told you he was going to be dropping some truth. And I'm very proud of all these college students, especially here in the city of Chicago. We give you a salute. What's happening in Rafah is a war crime. What's happening all over Gaza, 80% of it is a moonscape. Now, currently we know that the death toll is around 34,000 plus, but let's face it, let's be honest, that number's much higher. Wounded, the number's much higher. Journalists, 112 shot. Who shot him? First aid responders, relief workers, people from the World Central Kitchen attacked, shot. By whom? Have to wonder. We have a government that is bought by pro-Israeli groups, influenced by AIPAC, both Democrats and Republicans. When we, the American people, ask for aid, we get none of it. But when other countries ask for aid, they get billions upon billions of dollars. What about our people? What about the small towns and major cities all across the USA that need clean drinking water, updated infrastructure, education and other social programs, social relief? What about us who have been suffering? Where is the aid package, the aid deal for the American people? Shout out to this brave young man. Let's listen to more.
You've been standing at this line, linked arm in arm with other protesters. What has happened here?
What's that?
Want to also pause here, and I'll rewind that real quick. Fred Edward, 141. Thank you. I was not aware of that. Thank you for the correction, and I apologize for the wrong number earlier on.
Academic institutions are complicit in this. There comes a point where we say we're not following orders, and it doesn't matter what you do to us, because there are principles and there are human lives that matter more than our careers and our futures, and that's what separates us from people like Paul Olivisatos, the coward president of this university, and these coward cops that come in terrorizing an encampment while people are sleeping.
You've been standing at this line, linked arm in arm with other protesters. What has happened here?
What's happening here? You'd have to ask them. Apparently, they're trying to intimidate us, trying to suppress the protest that is continuing to grow. I think that they thought they could basically terrify us into inaction, into flight. But this is what this university has never understood, has never accepted, has never reckoned with about this student movement, and not just at UChicago, but around the country, is that the commitment to Gaza runs deeper than fears for our safety, fears for our careers, fears for our paychecks. It is a fundamental obligation we have as citizens of a country that is presiding over this genocide, arming this genocide, and as students at a university that is invested in those same weapons manufacturers and that is partnered with the same apartheid institutions that train that military and develop its technology.
There was some pushing and shoving. I don't know who was pushing or shoving, but I know that there was tension here at the line. You tried to have a conversation with some of these police officers.
Yeah, I've been talking to them this whole time. I've been asking them what it would take for them to stop following orders. I would ask them, how many kids have to die? So if you say 15,000 kids are killed, they're still willing to violently suppress a national movement, raising the alarm that this needs to stop, that the U.S. complicity needs to stop. So what if it was 50,000 kids, 200,000 kids, 1 million kids? What if the whole Gaza ghetto?
Do you know if there are next steps here?
For them? For me, the next step is a simple one, whatever form it takes, which is to continue fighting with every breath we have, with everything we have, for the people of Gaza, because the blood of those kids is on our hands. It's on all of our hands, whether we like it or not. If we're U.S. citizens, if we're UChicago students, we are implicated in this horror that is being visited with total impunity because of U.S. Security Council vetoes by the state of Israel. I'm a student, yes, I'm a PhD student.
And if you face discipline, what then?
Again, I don't care. It doesn't matter. There are things that matter more than my academic future. And certainly every one of those children.
Let's rewind that again. There are things that matter more. Young man, I wish you all the best for your academic future, okay? And I hope that you do achieve it. If anybody deserves it, it's you and all those brave protesters out there. Shame on the University of Chicago. Shame on it. Shame on it indeed.
200,000 kids, 1 million kids. What if the whole Gaza ghetto?
Do you know if there are next steps here?
For them? For me, the next step is a simple one, whatever form it takes, which is to continue fighting with every breath we have, with everything we have, for the people of Gaza, because the blood of those kids is on our hands. It's on all of our hands, whether we like it or not. If we're U.S. citizens, if we're UChicago students, we are implicated in this horror that is being visited with total impunity because of U.S. Security Council vetoes by the state of Israel. I'm a student, yes, I'm a PhD student.
And if you face discipline, what then?
Again, I don't care. It doesn't matter. There are things that matter more than my academic future. And certainly every one of those children that is being murdered, starved, maimed, whose parents are having to choose, do I let this kid starve first or that one? This is such an ugly reality of such great magnitude that to even think to really entertain questions about like, oh, what might happen if Paul puts me on a leave of absence is ridiculous. And it's insulting to the memory of every child that has been murdered in the course of this genocide with the full complicity of the United States, of Joe Biden, and of people like Paul Alivisatos and his cops that he sticks on us in the middle of the night. They're hypocrites, they're cowards, and the blood of Gaza's kids is on their hands too. The difference between them and us is that we know that and we reckon with it because we have a duty to them while they hide from the truth and they won't even admit that a single university has been bombed.
Thank you so much.
That's what you call someone dropping the truth. And I wanted to share this video, and yes, I will be posting and clipping this video after the show is done. That's going to be the first video I'm going to post and clip up. His voice needs to be heard. Everybody needs to hear it. I want to pull up this article here as well. It's from Axios Chicago. How area colleges have responded to protests. Sorry for that earlier stutter. University of Chicago. First of all, it's happening. Early Tuesday, University police began a clear out an encampment of the school's quad on the heels of President Paul Alivisatos' letter saying after negotiating with protesters, a number of intractable and flexible aspects of their demands were fundamentally incompatible with the university's principled dedication to institutional neutrality. Even though numerous universities, all the universities in Gaza at this point have been bombed to smithereens. You would think high academia would be standing in solidarity with each other, but I guess that's not the case, folks. Guess it's not the case. The administration hopes that nobody will pay attention to this because they did it at 4:40 in the morning. You don't think anyone's going to pay attention to this? With the internet, with smartphones, Androids, iPhones, cell phones, no one's going to pay attention. Sometimes people in academia, they might be smart at other things, but they might be dumb in a whole bunch of other things, okay? Just throwing it out there. We will be back until UChicago divests, discloses, and repairs. UChicago United for Palestinian organizer Yusuf Haswawi said in a statement, School of the Art Institute. After 68 protesters were arrested Saturday during the School of Art Institute demonstration, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, began to probe into a complaint that police officers had used excessive force. The CPD using excessive force? Why, I never. Oh, sorry, I didn't pull up the article here. Sorry about that, folks. The CPD using excessive force? Ha! Of course, come on. But the protest did not take place on campus grounds, but on the grounds of the Art Institute, the Art Institute of Chicago. It's a wonderful institute. I've been there a few times. My favorite wing of the Art Institute is the Medieval Armor. It's a pretty nice place. You got DePaul University. After 10th classes Sunday involving protesters and counter-protesters and police, no arrests were made, and the encampment on the school's quad remains active. The latest university leaders responded Monday to DePaul Divestment Coalition demands, saying the school's calls for the release of all hostages and immediate mutually agreed-upon ceasefire to establish nonviolent solutions on behalf of peace. What they're saying, the Board of Trustees say they're open to creating an ethics advisory committee, but stop short of promising any divestments, the letter from the DePaul leadership also stated. A lot of universities are invested and intertwined in the state of Israel. How did this happen? I have a little Rumble show for you on Thursday. You'll see how that happened. Northwestern University. What's going to happen there? The school reached an agreement that protesters would dismantle all tents but still be allowed to demonstrate on the quad. University leaders also proposed to reestablish an advisory committee on university investments that includes students, faculty, and staff. What's next? President Michael Schill is scheduled to testify May 23rd in front of the U.S. House Committee on Education and Workforce in a hearing titled Calling for Accountability, Stopping Anti-Semitic College Chaos. Don't you find it interesting? Hey, don't you all of you find it interesting that instead of the media focusing on the war crimes happening in Gaza, especially right now happening in Rafah, they're focusing on the college protest and they're focusing on the college protests. That's what they're focusing. They're not focusing on 100 plus, almost close to 200 journalists dead, shot, aid workers getting shot, men, women, children dead, starving, all that kind of stuff. They're focusing on the protest. I mean, Why are the protesters protesting? I mean, journalism 101 would be, these people are angry. Why are they protesting? That young man who was being interviewed by the Fox 32 news affiliate here in Chicago, why is he protesting? We're saying something's happening in Gaza. Let's go find out. Oh, wow. Hey, there's war crimes happening there. But nope, they're focusing on the protests. But don't worry, folks. Guess what? Guess what? I'm going to end this on a high note. And all of you, I'm getting ready for the middle fingers high up in the air. Give it up for the nutless wonder himself. Bernie Sanders condemns Israel's destruction of Gaza universities. Okay. There are no protests on college campuses in Gaza, said the Vermont Center. You know why? Because every one of the 12 universities in Gaza has been bombed and destroyed. Listen, Bernie, this has been going on for 6 months. More than that now. Better late than never, I guess. But let's hear what Bernie Sanders has to say. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders on Tuesday denounced the Israeli military's total decimation of Gaza's universities during the floor remarks on protests that have broken out on American college campuses over the past several weeks. Gee, Bernie, why don't you confront your good friend, Joe, 30330. There are no protests. Yeah, I already read that. There are no protests on college campuses in Gaza. You know why? Because every one of the 12 universities in Gaza has been bombed and destroyed. Hey, American universities and colleges. I think kind of, sort of, you should maybe kind of, sort of, maybe supposedly care about that, theoretically, right? Sanders' remarks came during a floor debate over a Republican resolution ostensibly aimed at condemning anti-Semitism on college campuses. GOP lawmakers and President Joe Biden have repeatedly smeared campus protests against Israel's assault on Gaza as anti-Semitic and ignored the prominent role Jewish students have played in the nationwide demonstrations. After good old Senator Tim Scott attempted to pass a GOP anti-Semitism resolution via unanimous consent, Sanders, who is Jewish, rose to block the measure, criticizing it as insufficient and proposing an alternative that condemns anti-Semitism as well as other forms of bigotry in this country, whether on college campuses or elsewhere, including Islamophobia, homophobia, racism, and the growing attacks against the Asian American community. Sanders' proposed resolution also expressed support for the right of students and all Americans to peacefully protest, whereas Scott's measure recently attacked campus protests as hotbeds of blatantly anti-Semitism and rhetoric action. Just so you all know, Tim Scott and all these other 12 U.S. senators, look at them. AIPAC tracker. They got to get that money, that cash, money, cash. These 12 U.S. senators have received $6.8 million from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. Let's see. First of all, Tim Cotton. Yeah, Tim Cotton right there. I think I said his name wrong. Did I get his name wrong? Tim Scott. Oh, there's Tim Scott. Yeah, so there you go. I thought it was Tim Cotton. Tim Scott. Oh, there's Tom Cotton. There you go. Tom Cotton, $237K. We got Turtle Boy Mitch McConnell. Yeah, twerk it, baby. $1.95 million. Whoa. There you go. Let's see. We got Blackburn, $427K. We got Boyd Brett, $102K. Oh, weak numbers. Senator Kathy. Let's see who else we got. We got Ted Budd. $159K. Boo. Weak sauce. Ted Cruz. That's right. Texas strong, right? $1.5 million. There you go, baby. Let's see. We got Rick Scott, $330K. What? Boo. Tim Scott. Here we go. Tim Scott, $379K. Aha. Take that, Rick Scott. Tim Scott's is like more. And Marco Rubio, little boy Rubio, $1 million. You keep on reaching for the stars, baby. And look at Tom Cotton, $237K compared to Tim Scott, $379K. Yep, these are our senators. And you wonder why people are protesting. People wonder why the protests are going on. Well, gee, maybe it's because we have politicians who are bought and sold. We don't have a representative democracy, a representative republic. We don't have any of that. We have politicians who are bought. And these elected officials, our leaders, the keen-eyed eagles on the wall, the lions at the gate, are the ones now dictating who can speak and who cannot speak, who can talk, who cannot talk. Shout out to these brave students out there protesting. The right for free speech must happen. And yes, even if you're against the protesters, even if you're doing counter-protests, you have the right to speak. But just remember, there's a crisis happening in Gaza. And the actions that are taking place there will haunt us for generations to come. This should not have happened. This never should have happened. and we, the people, have to speak out.